Gentlewoman's time has expired. Gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I have no further requests for time and yield back the balance of my time and ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection, so ordered. The gentleman yields back his time. All time has expired. And the question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass or agree to House Concurrent Resolution 370? So many as are in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. In the opinion of the Chair, 2/3 of those present having voted in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the concurrent resolution is agreed to, and without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 6077 to provide for U.S. participation in a Cascadia Corridor Commission.
The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
H.R. 6077, a bill concerning United States participation in a Cascadia Corridor Commission.
Pursuant to the rule, a gentleman from New York, Mr. Engel, will be recognized for 20 minutes, and a gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Broomfield, will be recognized for 20 minutes. The Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself as much time as I may consume and ask leave to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, so ordered. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 6077 concerning United States participation in a Cascadia Corridor Commission. This legislation urges the President to continue ongoing negotiations with the Government of Canada to establish a Cascadia Corridor Commission. The purpose of this commission is to address environmentally sound development and other regional issues in the Cascadia Corridor from Vancouver, British Columbia to Eugene, Oregon. The commission, which would serve in an advisory capacity to federal, state, and local governments, would submit a developmental strategy for consideration by the concerned federal and state governments. Mr. Speaker, it is expected that this commission will have little cost to the federal government. The legislation provides that the U.S. delegation to the Commission would negotiate cost-sharing arrangements between the federal, state, and local participants. At no time would the federal government bear more than 1/4 of the costs of the Commission. The bill would authorize a ceiling of only $200,000 for each of fiscal years 1993 and 94 for this purpose. I urge the members to support this legislation. Thank you.
The gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from Michigan.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume and ask permission to revise and extend my remarks.
Objection, so ordered. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, this bill would authorize the United States participation in the Cascadia Corridor Commission, which is to propose an environmental sound economic development plan for Pacific Northwest and the Canadian province of British Columbia. The plan will be submitted to Congress and the Canadian Parliament, the Legislature of British Columbia, and the State Legislature of Oregon, as well as Washington. This approach will help coordinate growth strategies in this region in order to reconcile economic and environmental objectives. I want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate Congressman John Miller of Washington for his leadership on this bill and for his hard work and so forth. He has really consistently performed on behalf of his constituents and this region. The House and our committee will certainly miss his energy, his wisdom, and his dedication next year. It's my honor now to yield the balance of my time to the sponsor of this resolution, John Miller of Washington.
The gentleman from Washington is recognized.
I thank my colleague, the ranking member from Michigan, for yielding, and I thank him for his kind words, and it has been a privilege to serve with him on the committee. I want to thank all my colleagues on the Foreign Affairs Committee for helping to bring this bill to the floor, particularly Chairman Fassell, Ranking Member Broomfield, Congressman Berman. This bill is not only sponsored by myself, it is sponsored by the whole Washington State delegation, by Congressman Ron Wyden of Oregon. The concept that this bill advocates is supported by the administration. Let me just briefly describe for my colleagues the whys and wherefores of this bill. The region west of the Cascade Mountains in the Pacific Northwest is known as Cascadia. And there is a corridor within that region running from Vancouver, BC, down to Eugene, Oregon. It is an area of incredible growth. The demographers are predicting that in the next several decades, the population growth in that corridor, percentage-wise, may be the greatest on the North American continent. That comes about in part because of the desirable environment of the area, in part because of the Canadian-American Free Trade Agreement, and other reasons. Just to give you one statistic, in 1986, the vehicular border crossings at Blaine, Washington, in this corridor across the Canadian-American border, were 5 million, approximately 5 million. That was 1986. In 1992, this year, it's 11 million, and the Customs Office tells me that in the year 2000, it may be, they are projecting 28 million. That gives you an idea of the growth. But with that growth that can be positive comes tremendous challenges if we're going to preserve and sustain the environment of the Cascadia region. That is what this commission is about. What we have here is a bill that puts the federal government behind setting up an advisory body that would bring federal, state, provincial, local officials to the table in a forum to discuss the environmental, transportation, economic challenges in the Cascadia Corridor region and allow them to together propose strategies to meet these challenges. I thank my colleagues for their help on this, and I ask for a favorable vote.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Michigan's time has expired. Gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I have no further requests for time and yield back the balance of my time. I ask unanimous consent that all members be given 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks.
That objection, so ordered. Gentleman yields back his time. All time has expired. And the question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 6077? So many as are in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 of those present having voted in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. The gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass the resolution H. Con. Res. 353, expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should take a leading role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit as amended.